Am I the arsehole for yelling at my friend? So, I'm a 16-year-old male with ASD, on the autism spectrum, and I have two really good friends, Jack, 16 male, and Caleb, 17 male. Jack and I grew up in the same neighborhood and have been friends since first grade. He's always been understanding of my autism and has both listened to my rambles about my special interests and sat with me through my meltdowns. Caleb became our friend in 2019. We would all play video games, study together, and go to our local theme park. When COVID hit, we still kept in touch over Zoom, FaceTime, and Snapchat. Now we're starting to hang out again in person. Here's the issue. Jack has always been okay with me going off tangents about my special interests, even if he doesn't find them particularly interesting. Right now, it's birds and Spider-Man. I can tell you the wingspan of over 50 birds and their diets and native areas. I've also been collecting Spider-Man comics since I was 10. Sometimes when we hang out, I'll talk about these things. Caleb is mostly uninterested and sometimes rolls his eyes. I don't think Jack has noticed. A week ago, Caleb and I were at a small get-together with some other people while Jack was out of town. Someone brought up the theme park that we go to, which has a bald eagle reserve. I started talking about that, and Caleb interrupted and said, "Oh, would you shut up about birds already? No one cares." It got kind of quiet, and then I said, "I care," with a raised tone. I didn't think that it was yelling, but Caleb said that it was. Then he said he would tell Jack that I yelled at him, and he wouldn't want to be my friend anymore. I just left, but later I called him to apologize. He said that it was okay, and that he decided not to tell Jack. I thanked him and that was it, but then at school, one of the guys who was there asked if I was good, and that Caleb was an asshole. So was I in the wrong? Edit. People have wondered why Caleb wouldn't tell on me to Jack. Basically, Caleb has made little comments before about how Jack is probably relieved to finally have a normal friend, and if he finds out that me and Caleb aren't getting along, he would choose to leave me behind in favor of Caleb. He knows that is one of my biggest fears, which is why I apologized so quickly. And now in the comments, not the arsehole. And he's not 5. He is full of it to claim that he's gonna tell on you and that Jack won't be your friend. Not the arsehole. And based on your other comments, you should tell Jack about the things Caleb has been saying. He sounds like an ableistic bully. Not the arsehole. Defending yourself is perfectly acceptable. Caleb was trying to manipulate you by threatening to tell Jack. The implication being Jack will no longer be your friend. Caleb kind of sucks. Not the arsehole, you defended yourself. If anything, Caleb sounds like an asshole. Okay, he's not interested in your hobbies, but rolling his eyes, interrupting you and threatening to tell your other friend? That is not okay. Also, what would happen if Jack knows? If anything, Jack knows you longer and better and knows that you wouldn't just yell at your friend without reason. And OP replies, "I would hope so, but lately, Caleb has been making little comments about Jack finally having a normal friend. Again, if Caleb ever forced Jack to choose between us, I'm afraid that Jack would leave me behind." And without further ado, here is our update. So I told Jack about what happened like people suggested, and he flipped out. He called Caleb and went off on him for treating me that way, and using him as a threat. He also told him the notion that I wasn't normal was extremely ableist. He proceeded to be even more so by saying I'm annoying, don't deserve friends, and used the R slur. Jack blocked Caleb, I did as well, and we both ignore him at school. Basically, Caleb isn't in our friend group anymore. You know who is? The guy who asked if I was okay after the get-together. We invited him to hang out with us next time we're able to meet up in person, but for now, we hang out at school and online. Jack also reassured me that he doesn't feel at all annoyed by my special interest or that I'm not a normal friend. He also said to tell him if anyone crosses me again, so I have a best friend. Hopefully more than that someday. And a bodyguard, lol. Thanks for the advice, everyone. And now in the comments, so glad that you got such a terrific friend like Jack. The new friend seems wonderful and promising of a good friendship as well. Caleb will realize one day, hopefully, that his attitude is going to close a lot of doors and cut off a lot of potential friendships and relationships for him. It'll probably be way too late to salvage this one, but I hope he learns from this loss. And OP says, yes, I hope so too. Congrats on everything going well. It's so nice that Jack is a good friend and that you've made even other good friends along the way. By the way, birds are so cool. There are large groups of starlings near where I live right now, and it's amazing seeing them all take flight in the morning, like a huge black cloud coming out of the trees. And OP says, thank you. And yes, starlings are very interesting. One of the most numerous bird groups when they're in a flock. It is the best feeling in the world to step out of your comfort zone and have some faith your closest friend will back you up. He did, big time. You even gained another friend from this experience. I hope I don't sound condescending, but I'm proud of you. You were braver than I was at your age. And OP says, not at all. I appreciate it. I always hoped I had a friend who would stand up for me, but having our friendship put to the test and win was the best. Our next post is titled, Am I the asshole for making my wife think our son was missing? My wife has a horrible habit that I discovered 2 months ago. We were ordering lunch on the Subway app and I told her to pick the location that has a drive-thru that we don't have to go inside and take the baby out of the car just to clip him back in a few minutes later. She told me it's not a big deal to leave the baby in the car to run in and pick it up really fast. I had no idea she ever did this. I told her I was not comfortable with her leaving him in the car alone even for a minute, and she told me she's been doing it since he was born, and it's always been fine. She told me she does it to pick up food, run into the post office or pharmacy, etc., and I was floored. We don't live in a horrible area, but it's also not super safe either. I told her not to ever do this again. She told me she never stopped to think about the potential dangers and that she would stop doing it. Well, yesterday, as I was driving home from my brother's house, I spotted her car at the gas station near our place. It was parked in a spot up front and not a pump, so I figured she stopped in to grab some snacks, which we like to do. I decided to stop and go in and say hi and get some food, and I pulled in and parked next to her. However, when I got there, I was furious to find our son in his car seat. The car wasn't even locked. I don't know what came over me, but in that moment, I decided to take my son and put him into my car. He's got a car seat in there too. I then drove to the other side of the gas station parking lot and waited for my wife to come out. It took 6 minutes for her to appear. When she saw that he was gone, she looked stunned for a second and then started to frantically look around and cry. I didn't let it go on long, and after this I saw her pull her phone out and presumably call 911, and that's when I pulled my car around to her. I parked, got out, and walked around to my son's door and opened it to show him to her. She looked extremely relieved, but that quickly turned to anger with her asking me why I took him and did that to her. I told her she needed to learn her lesson and she promised to stop leaving him in the car and that she was extremely irresponsible. It was so easy for me to pull up and take him. No one else at the gas station even noticed, so if he really was taken, there would have been no help and it would have been 100% her fault. She proceeded to call me cruel and psychotic and tried taking our son out of my car into hers. I said no and that I would be driving him home, and I left. She came home not much later, but ignored me the rest of the day. She acknowledged me today, saying she wanted an apology, and I said absolutely not, and she's the one who should be saying sorry. She's been guilt-tripping me the rest of the day, saying no mother should experience the fear that I put her through. Did I go too far? Am I the asshole? And now in the comments, normally I'm fully against playing, but this is your child's life. I support your actions. Your wife is being hugely neglectful. Not to mention, it'll be warm soon and being left in a hot car even for a few minutes can be deadly. Not the asshole, and I wouldn't let her take him anywhere until she apologizes. And OP replies, I guess I should clarify that the car was running with the air on. I forgot to add that detail and was restricted by the character limit, but the car was on. It's a push-to-start car with a sensor for the key fob, so it'll stay on and running as long as you were close enough to the vehicle. I didn't see the keys in the car, so she took them inside with her but didn't lock it. Well, that just brings up different safety issues. Seriously, your wife is 100% wrong. I'm a mum and my kid is 18. I still remember when I fell asleep driving with him on the Los Angeles highway for a half second when he was an infant and I was an exhausted new parent, and I shudder and cringe every time. Nothing happened, and I still wish I could take it back. Your wife must stop doing this. It is so unsafe. So basically, that means that someone could jump in the car and drive it away. As long as the engine is on, it'll keep running even if the key is out of range. Not the asshole. Your wife is putting your child at extreme risk for her own convenience. Honestly, not the asshole in my views. She leaves your son unattended in an unlocked car. Not only can he get kidnapped, but 5 minutes during a hot summer day can be enough for a heat stroke. Or someone stealing the car, not realizing a kid is on board, or a million other risks or dangers. You asked her not to do it again. She agreed and still did it again. I wouldn't leave my kid with her to run an errand again. And OP provides an update to the situation. So I sat my wife down this morning and I did apologize for the way that I went about things, but I said I was not sorry for caring about our son's safety, and in the moment, felt like she needed a huge wake-up call. She apologized for lying and continuing to do this unsafe practice. I asked her why she seems so casual about what she's doing. Most parents I know, myself included, are on the paranoid side when it comes to their kids. And she's been doing this for a long time without seeing an issue. I asked if she thinks she's dealing with some kind of postpartum mental health issue, as I don't consider this normal. She broke down crying, saying she doesn't know what's wrong with her. She has agreed to seek counseling, and until there is a major change/improvement, I will be running all errands with my son, or we will be doing them together. But I told her I cannot trust her anymore to take him places by herself. And some people comment, I think you handled all of this the right way. Her getting help is absolutely the right thing, because this casual attitude towards his safety is not normal. I hope you both can get some answers and everyone can heal. Best of luck. This is a good step forward. Hopefully she will have learned her lesson. However, just in case, document everything, all texts and communications of her admitting that she did this. If she doesn't learn from this, and counseling goes south, you will have the documentation to fight for the sole custody. The judge will not be pleased to know the baby is not safe with her. Unexposed is titled, Would I be the asshole for going to my professor and causing a classmate to fail a project? So I, 21 female, am in my last semester in college and will hopefully graduate this May. I'm a first-generation college student and genuinely care about getting good marks. This semester, I'm in a class that involves a group project of 4 people analyzing and proposing policy, which is a large portion of our grade. The project proposal is due on Friday, and my group is seriously slacking. Normally, I'm very understanding because things come up, life is busy and tiring, and people have to juggle internships and jobs in school and mental health, etc., but this is a huge project, and I am tired of carrying the group. I made a group chat with my group members and assigned them roles because I figured it would be easier to set it apart and get it done. I was fine with taking the bulk of the project as long as I got some help on the other aspects. 2 of my group mates really stepped up and went above and beyond on their portions, but the last member hasn't touched it. One group member pointed out that she is never in lectures, so I reached out just to make sure that she was doing okay. She thanked me for the concern, but just explained that where she lives, class is all online, COVID restrictions have lifted, so she's been enjoying her time out at clubs, bars, restaurants, and will try to get the project this week. I asked her to have her portion done by yesterday so we can fine-tune it before it's turned in. She didn't touch it, so I asked her to get it done by today instead. Still nothing. I messaged her this morning about it, and she snapped at me telling me to get off her back and that she'll get it done by tomorrow instead. I'm not entirely trusting of her that she'll get it done, and even so, that leaves 1 day to review the proposal and get it fine-tuned and finish up the conclusion, which is cutting it close for such a large portion of the grade. Evidently, another group had a similar problem, so our professor asked us to speak up if we encounter anything similar so that she can give us individual grades instead of a group grade. I have all the screenshots from our discussions and the editing history on our documents to prove that she hasn't done work and why. So would I be the asshole for sending an email to my professor and having her failed for this portion? Am I overreacting? And should I just wait it out for this girl to do the work? And now in the comments, not the asshole. She's not doing her part because she's enjoying her time at the clubs and bars? If she was undergoing an actual problem and that was the reason that she wasn't doing her part, then understandable. But her getting drunk and partying is putting more load on you and your teammates. Talk to your professor. This kind of thing happens all the time. That's the thing about group projects. You have to deal with people of all kinds. In this case, report her to the professor. I've done this before. The professor would understand and maybe even help you out. Not the asshole. I would calmly discuss this with your professor so they are aware of the situation ASAP. Since they have dealt with this scenario before, they likely have a reasonable way of informing the students in a non-confrontational manner. The sooner you let them know, the sooner they can reach out to said group member, which will give them ample time to actually put something together to salvage their grade. Do not let the laziness of other students ruin your scores. College is too expensive to fail and retake courses in. Look out for yourself first and foremost. Totally not the asshole. I think many people deal with the same thing like this during college years. I got one fail because he failed to do his part. I made sure Professor knew this with proof, and he got 0 on his final project, thus failing the class. She deserves 0 because she did 0, and you shouldn't feel guilty for it. Amazing job standing up like this though. Although this happens many times, it's actually hard to stand up and make this happen again. And now, onto the update. In the end, several more groups came forward with a similar issue, and my professor decided that each group would receive individual grades rather than a group grade, and also required us to fill out group member evaluations. The group member who was not participating ended up filling out her portion of the project last minute when we received the email. It was rough, and there were a lot of inconsistencies and misinformation on her portion, so I reached out and asked if she wanted me to check it over and help her out. She apologized and admitted that she had not been taking the project seriously and was in the wrong. We polished her portion of the project, and she got a decent grade, which she messaged me afterwards to thank me for the help. If I remember correctly, my professor announced that moving forward, she would be grading individually to avoid these problems, but it would still require a group effort for a complete project. But in short, my advice is what a lot of the other comments mentioned. Group projects suck. They are there to reflect that in life, you might also work in groups with people who don't hold up their end of the work, and you'll need to adjust as necessary. But don't be afraid to bring it up to someone if it's going to seriously negatively impact you. Most importantly, don't forget to be kind and courteous. While in the end she acknowledged what she did wasn't right and it was frustrating, it all worked out and I felt better knowing that in the end, I could still help her and there was no bad blood. And now in the comments, I remember your original post and sympathized, having had to deal with similar group members in the past. I'm glad you could resolve things peacefully and your group member realized their bad behavior and apologized. Yeah, this is work in a nutshell. Glad you figured out how to handle it well, but remember not to set yourself on fire to keep others warm. Be communicative to your superiors about your concerns and document how much work you put into things. Offer to help if you see someone truly struggling, but you don't have to compensate for someone else's lack of trying. Honestly, this is why group projects shouldn't be a thing. I'm glad it all worked out in the end, but seriously, no one likes forced group projects. Oakley dokley guys, that is where I'm going to end today's episode. I do hope you enjoyed as always, don't forget to drink your water, and have a bloody good day. See you in the next one, bye.